Hello friend and welcome back once again to Gary Grigsby's Warned East. Let's continue with whatever we still have left to do in this episode. I guess starting in the north then. Let's make a little bit more sense out of everything around here. Both of you down, you up, you down. You in here. As it is, I kind of want to have them as a reserve force up there, kind of ish. They'll be weak for a while, probably throughout the entirety of these last two turns. So we'll have to watch that. As well. Still looking for a potential encirclement here, although this is getting quite tricky. It's a shame they didn't route. But really? Man, screw that. Let's see. Guys, how are these? Okay. They're out of here. Ultimately, those odds are also pretty reasonable, which I like. I don't want to get my units too weak, so these guys staying here, coupled with this, will make a somewhat formidable unit regardless. Oh, it's nice that you get to do a heavy attack still. Oh, that's only part of the unit. Oh, whoops. I'm crazy, but I'm not so crazy as to not use significant forces in there. This also allows for pretty nice advance along this way. You know what, with these guys being reasonably yeah, they're actually encircled like this, technically. I mean, they can get out, or they can get a unit back there, but just the fact that this is now like this is 28th. You know, it doesn't block their zone of control or anything, so that they can move through there, but it still means that they have something to deal with over in here. No. Yeah, that's still fine. I would at some point say going to Rzhev is better, but that can only be done once these guys move definitely further up towards the Volga or something along those lines. Definitely not like this. But this kind of breakthrough at Kalinin also does not bode very well for them. Yeah, let's put them at Likoslavo. You there, and you at Volokolomsk here. Of course, now we're moving back up in that direction, so you're there, you're there, you're there. I have quite a few units still to move in this direction. And also around here, so getting across the river is tough. At any rate, let's move into these woods. Let's move you up as well. Apparently have the French infantry. I'd like to use something. This is not just clear. Yeah, it's woods, right? Okay. I'll put more in there than this. Don't get me wrong. Now, all of these, or at least a significant portion of these forces, is over here. Under the 8th. To be honest, I also want them around that area. Shame they cannot enter this hex. But oh wait, that's the wrong unit from my side. That's part of it. Let's take a look at another corps here. The 26th. Which units are relatively exhausted. But I can get some units slightly further up. Then there's this core. And this core. So there are some differences. Let's actually shift you to this side for the moment, so that makes a bit more sense. Things are a bit tricky in the sense that, you know, going out here is pretty tough already, in a pretty weak position here regardless. Don't know what's here now, so that makes things pretty difficult too, and I cannot just go in through this way. Depending on what they have here, things are also not so easy. What I'll do though is I'll put the 268th up here and put them under the 8th Corps. And the 27th Corps can take the 371st. Now, the 3rd Panzer Army should move up a bit. 9th Army into Chula. I think though like it's a pretty serious question whether I want to cross the river. It's certainly something worth thinking about. Let's see how powerful they are. Not very powerful. They are, though. And all these forests here make moving around difficult. The fact that there's a unit there also gives trouble. I cannot move into this hex, so let's move back. What I will do then, actually, split these up. I know it's kinda sucky to do that in hindsight, but let's reinforce this little area here so they will not be able to break out. And that they have another unit in here is unfortunate. Means that moving around that is going to be tough. What I'll start doing rather is start moving units up there too. Let's keep you in here for refitting. Let's just see what I can do. I mean, I cannot encircle them, and I would not have been able to do so either way. Oh, no, I didn't want to get that far. Crap. Well, let's keep them like this then, and see if I can expand this area on this side of Moscow a little bit more. That would, you know, secure it a bit better. I can definitely see these guys escape here. Like, the likelihood that that will hold this turn is like near 0. The 4th Army. There's a few labor groups, but overall they're working their way up here. Just like that. Interesting thing here potentially is that one, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If there is nothing here, I can go around all of that and just see what happens. Right, 26, 23, 20, 17, 14, 11, 8, 5, 1. And then they'll take this hex. I would need these to go in here. Another thing that's interesting about doing this is that I can use this Panzer division to cut them up into little segments, in a way. Yeah, so the reason why I'm doing it like this is because I'd actually rather just move this division into this area. Just like that. I mean, these guys are surrounded, but it really doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Just like this. I mean, again, these are surrounded, but it doesn't really matter that much. It's not really a thing. I really don't remember whether these guys were isolated last turn or not, but I'll move you in here for now, so they don't take a depot. We'll figure it out later. And I kind of have a similar approach, just move these. And we'll see how that goes. I do have a Panzer division here too. Could technically move. It's not even such a bad idea to keep moving here, because even if I cannot encircle these forces as it is, I might be able to get them to have a hard time getting out. And I think that will also count for something. Like, I still have a zone of control through here and here, so that will make it harder for these guys to break through, regardless of all the other stuff that's going on here. They should rather stay there. Everything around here has been taken care of. It's still a precarious situation, to say the least. What do we have here? Both of these can't do anything. Let's keep you in there, just like that. None of these units should be moving. But some of these should. Like, at least crossing the river should be a good deal. And I want the Romanians to move forward too. Let's keep at least 2 hexes in between each unit. Like that too. You should be going back. They need to keep that under control now. They'll, yeah, at the very least, let's move you back so they don't randomly take any hexes. And Where do I have the other rail unit? I had 2 rail units in this section. The other one is now here near Kalach. Right, I could at least also start working on getting a railroad to Timashevskaya. Maybe getting all the way down to Krasnodar within the foreseeable future. Where am I gonna go next? So let's just do this for the moment. Eleventh Army does not take up a lot of space, but it also only has 22. Out of a whole lot, so that does make sense. They can stay there for a little bit, and third Panzer Corps it is. I thought this is Cheer Station, or is that here? Here. Let's have them rest in Kalach. Now that this first attempt on Stalingrad failed, we still have 2 turns for a second attempt, although I don't think it's that likely to succeed here. We'll see. The Soviets, of course, still have 2 rail lines towards Stalingrad too. The one on this side of the Volga, and here too. And it actually runs all the way to Stalingrad this time, because last time I actually got to Stalingrad from the north, but then they pushed me back, which also really sucked. Two more turns, 20th and 26th at the very least, maybe even 3 turns left. Maybe I should have moved a little bit further here. But having this railroad here would be nice. You know, the Germans got quite a bit further historically than just that rail line, obviously. But I mean, it's one of the 4 approaches to Stalingrad. There are 4, like this one here, and then the 2 that the Soviets have currently. Makes everything very tricky. And of course, I'm super delayed at Stalingrad and the Caucasus in general. I mean, you know, Yeah, I took my cop to here, but all right. Once again, this is like the Dutch cheese kind of tactics. It's uh, look, it's only 2 more turns, and I think that the actual objectives have been secured. So, you know, not sure what the Soviets would be looking to do. What I would be interested in is knowing whether the Soviets get supply in the Moscow area because it was still a national supply hex. But then none of the other units outside of Stalingrad would, or outside of Moscow would get it for this one particular turn, and then it would switch over afterwards. But I cannot see personally what are supposedly national supply hexes for the Soviets and what aren't. Unfortunately. Now, I don't expect a pocket like this to not break open, so. And neither here, for example. This is just a diversion in general. I also don't expect the Soviets to destroy me in those areas either. I'm surprised they held, though. It's quite some. I forgot to zoom in again. Okay, well that's good actually. That's some serious damage against the Soviets too. Must have weakened them severely against this second attack. Two infantry divisions there, attacking across the river like that. This is very interesting because indeed now I have another unit in there. They're going to try and trash about at Stalingrad itself. Seems like they did not have the force there to do anything else than just that one attack. They did take back these hexes though, which, to be fair, is unsurprising. They might even rout these. Can see them do that too. One thing that might be interesting is if they leave this Stalingrad hex empty as to try and encircle it in the next couple of turns, like I did at Moscow. Yeah, they did break out of here. I mean, that's not surprising, again. Because Swiss cheese kind of tactics are not super effective by any means, but I mean, they're giving me a lot of ways to just advance, and I would take this next turn. Like, now that this infantry is through, I can close that pocket more efficiently. It's even hard to say. Okay, they're already at firm front line, so those were the only attacks that they were willing to make, which is very little, obviously. Like, the fact that they can only muster up some attacks inside Stalingrad and all the way up in the north, that has to be disastrous for them. I would be surprised if Moscow held, but I don't know. I mean, they didn't actually break my unit itself, so it certainly makes things interesting. If they decide that this is not going to be part of their front line, I might be able to, like, if there's nothing here, which I find very weird, but if they decide that it's going to be like that, I might be able to do an overwhelming attack on Stalingrad on the next turn and still take it. Oh, I keep pressing that. It's... oh, holy smokes, it held. The ring around Moscow held. It's isolated. Wow. Um, yeah, okay. Obviously I have to deal with plenty of other areas, but... Huh. Well, like I said, there are 2 or 3 more turns at this point. It's one of the 2, so we know we're very close to the end. But... it certainly is interesting. What's also interesting is that they have been able to sneak in between. Yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, if I have a unit here and here, they can link up. But then all of this is still isolated, so at least it helps against that. Yeah, so that's no longer a national supply hex, I would wager, but I can't see that. I'm not sure what would be a national supply hex any other way. But sure. I mean, to be completely fair, we've kind of known that the war was over for a little while, but at least in terms of points. But I do think it's interesting to see how far we can take this. Like, I think it's unlikely to be able to take Moscow within the next 2 turns itself. But as I said, I'll see how far I can get it. Many of these units will be deeply entrenched in problematic positions because they're in the heavy woods and things like that. But what I'll have is at least the 16th Army is now moving up as well along the Volga to secure this flank. So I can focus a lot more on reducing this pocket and moving up towards Vladimir. Which is not an objective in and by itself, but that's just kind of the general direction that these guys are headed. But let's just take a look. Yes, they say turn 68, so I don't really know whether that's the end or the start or anything like that. Either way, we didn't take care of that many Soviet units, so we didn't lose that much. Yeah, we had to defend the motherland. Garrison shortage was last time. Soviet partisans. How does this look? Because they did say like Rommel's attacking, but then, you know, this didn't change at all. You would expect this at least to, you know, get to within LL main, but yeah, nothing is changing there. Anyway, let's quickly take a look. Western Europe, Norway, Finland, reserves. Oh wow, even the Tigers already. They're not even that bad either. Comet value 0.76. That is noteworthy. And now that we've removed Großdeutschland, they've been changing themselves over here. They're at 52% of TOE. They needed to get out of there because they weren't going to switch. I really need to get them out of there in order to turn it into a motorized division. Of course, that comes a little bit too late during the last few turns, but I can't complain. It seems like the situation stabilized here quite a bit. I would have to attack here if I want to have any chance of encircling those 3 units at all. Yeah, they moved a unit in there, but that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things there. Like, obviously they broke out of there. This did not break though, and I'm feeling a bit more confident that I can now encircle those forces in that area. Seems like indeed I can now push up into Stalingrad, maybe even encircle it. They're just kind of abandoned it to try and make some semblance of a line. As they did before. I'm still holding Makeup as well, funnily enough. It's kind of weird that they didn't actually even just take it back. These guys are not doing very well, but that doesn't matter. So once again, I'm very curious to see how far I can take this. Next 2 turns. Gonna make the fairly obvious adjustments first. Things that make plenty of sense. I'll also take a look at the metrics here for a bit. Alright, so let's take a look. Soviets still at 3.2 million men here. Guns is very close to ours. Tanks 1,000 more. Planes a lot more, but I have very little planes out there. They lost nearly 9 million men. As for us, it's over 2 million now, although for us most of it's disabled. For them it's mostly killed and captured. Actually mostly captured anyway. Looking at the metrics, we can see that we're at 783. That's also the high water mark. Total men goes down 4492, which is actually lower than they had in October, interestingly enough. Total guns as low as it's ever been. Tanks same, both sides. Planes going down. Manpower loss for the Soviets was high though, still. Even though the on-map wasn't that big of a change, they lost over 200,000 men once again. Gun losses very high, tanks very high. But I'd wager that again for their manpower pool, it's kind of like declining by about 50 to 60,000 a turn. But of course they do get that like a very big amount every turn too. So I guess that would also make sense. Now, as for our manpower pool, it's kind of stable. Interesting too. Let's take a Kartsk at the very least over here. Like the problem, of course, is that there is that unit there. But my movement. Let's at least get out of these swamps. I don't see these guys moving up from here that badly. I need a unit to deal with this. Let's use Third Mountain. Promise, of course, that I'm having this bug again. And I cannot see how much movement. There we go. Nope, it's back. Alright, let's try to do a few other things first then, and hope... Nah, crap. Yeah, I cannot attack it from this direction any longer. Now it cannot go anywhere. Okay, that one's gone. And I have the bug again. Here we go. But I was busy with this army. So let's go down, down, down. Pretty much as far as I can go into Timoshevskaya. Apparently they did take this, which makes sense. Let's move you up again. Let's see how far I can take you. Pretty far. Taking Slavyanskaya would be nice. The thing that's a bit tricky, I guess, about all of this here in a sense is that Yeah, I'm moving through enemy territory, so that never goes very easily. And then I also have pretty big distances to cover here. So I need to take those territories, obviously. It really shows you how far Grozny is too. It's like insane. Yeah, let's move you into makeup. They cannot. What kind of territory is this? Heavy woods? Because let's try to get an Armavir at least too. Nice. I'm quite sure the Soviets have abandoned quite a lot of territory here, but yeah, for me it's kind of just indeed like I don't know if it's like finding the sweet spot for moving now, in a way. Getting across the river is apparently a bit too difficult for the moment. Okay. I need to route this in order to move properly. It's not too bad. Can't cross. Oh, it's the bug. That's why. So it wasn't too hard at all. It was just the game. But I can also encircle those 2 units here. Not too shabby, if you ask me. One thing that's also interesting in this regard here is that, like, I can technically get a railroad up till here, but then it kind of stops there, whereas if you use this railroad, you're in a much better position, because it's a double rail moving to where you want to go, which is Grozny. So there's also that interesting thing. These were isolated. Let's get a surrender out there. Because with a unit like... Oh. Huh. That. Well. I guess... No, I can move in here and take it, at least re-encircle it. I mean, most likely I can go around these guys again anyway. That does not seem to be the problem. The 6th Romanian Corps. those are the units that I need down here, most of all. They can spread around a bit, apparently. Nice. It's quite good. Get some distance here. As well. This is the 4th Romanian. Gonna need an overwhelming force, at least, to get rid of those guys. I'll not be able to deal with all of them. And that's fine. But the 4th Romanian, what else do you have? They have this. Okay. We'll have to do some serious reorganization in there too, but look, if we take a look at historical captures around here, I always like to do that kind of stuff. The Germans actually got all the way to Calcutta over there. And even took Malia Derbeti. Yeah. Maybe I could get there with motorized units or something. All the way up there, huh? Yeah, especially in the Caucasus, as I said, I'm nowhere near anything that I should potentially have grabbed. But I'm making up for it in other places, I suppose. That is always worth something. Anyway, this grabs me the most hexes to convert. And gets me close to Elista at least, which is pretty big. Don't hear me complaining about that. Yeah, I thought these guys would be marginally powerful. That's down to 0, so it should be a relatively easy grab from here. I can do it with a soft attack. Ah, crud. They got away. Oh, of course, I couldn't surrender them at all. Jeez, what am I... Unbelievable. What am I doing here? Right, well, whatever. It's no use doing it now anyway. What was I thinking? Why did I... Whatever. Okay. Like I said, I'm not paying any attention here. Alright, I'm gonna wrap things up though. So, I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please consider leaving a like, comment, or subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye-bye.